Did you know that 70% of Americans are going to need long-term care, and only 3% of Americans have long-term care insurance? But why is that so? Because it's so expensive. And what if you pay for it for a long time and you die without needing it? You've lost all that money. But what if there was a product where you put a single premium, and if you changed your mind, you get your money back? If you died without using it, you'd get more than what you put in as life insurance to go to your beneficiaries. And if you needed long-term care, it'd be 3 to 6 times more money than you put in. And if that grabbed your attention, stay tuned. We're going to give you more information on that.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Wealth Defense Radio, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Nahosa, and I'm an independent advisor representative for SWAN DFW, which stands for Sleep Well at Night, Dallas-Fort Worth. And across from me is a certified financial planner and the man that you saw and heard in the intro. It is Hector and Josh.
Good morning.
Today we're talking all about the wonderful world of long-term care insurance.
Yeah, it's a tough subject for some people.
Yeah, it's something that probably doesn't get talked about as much as it should.
That's exactly right. We should be talking about it way more, but it's just a difficult topic to talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into a lot of just the frequently asked questions that we receive about long-term care. And, you know, if you or somebody you know maybe is starting to think about it, maybe send them this episode, maybe give it a like so that more people see this on the algorithm, or rate us 5 stars on Spotify or Facebook or wherever it is you're watching it. Go ahead and send this to somebody if you think that this would be helpful. So first question we have for you, Hector.
Yep.
What is long-term care insurance?
Long-term care insurance is different than health insurance, right? Health insurance has as a basic kind of thought that there's something wrong, we're going to do something to you, and you're going to get better, right? You have a broken arm, we're going to put a cast on you, and in 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be better. Long-term care insurance doesn't have that. Long-term care insurance says you got something, and this is likely to be, not necessarily all the time, but likely to be some kind of end-of-life event. And so we're going to need long-term care for a long time. And what does that mean? It means that you're not able to do some of the basic things like bathing, toileting, moving around, eating. And there's 6 of these things called the activities of daily living. And when you can't do 2 of them, then you qualify, if you have long-term care insurance, to go on benefit, start receiving the benefit that you've paid for. But it's real basic things that we can't do, and then you qualify. And then the other thing that overrides the physical stuff is the mental stuff. If somebody starts getting into some like early onset dementia or early signs of Alzheimer's, even though you might be able to physically do everything, you can go on claim because of the mental state of not being able to remember things and do things and those kind of things. So it's a hard topic to talk about.
So who decides whether or not you can complete the ADLs, or if your mental state has declined to such a point that you can go on claim?
That's a great question. Most people think it's the insurance company that will decide that, and it's not. It's your personal doctor, usually your primary care physician, who will have a form that they will sign that will just certify from your doctor, from the patient's doctor, that they're eligible to go on claim. And it's not a complicated process once somebody gets there. And usually the person that slows it down the most, sadly, is the patient. We just don't want to admit that we're at a point where we need help. Not sure why that happens, but that happens a lot. Usually the family's already ready, and the doctor's ready, but it's the patient who just doesn't want. Once our independence is really important to us. That's why it's such a hard topic to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess another question would be, let's say we get there and everybody's on board, including the doctor and the patient and the family. Everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
You're ready to go on claim. When does that start to pay? Say you already own long-term care insurance.
Okay.
When does that start to pay?
Yeah, usually, you have about a 90-day or 100-day wait. It's kind of a deductible before your policy starts to pay. Long-term care insurance is designed to work very closely with Medicare because most people are over 65 and already on Medicare. So the reason that time is in there is because usually your first 100 days are covered if there's an event by Medicare. So if you needed help, Medicare will cover the first 100 days, and then your long-term care insurance kicks in.
Okay. How long do people use long-term care insurance for?
The last statistics that I saw is that the average stay, and the statistics are always measured from needing nursing homes, and we'll talk about that later. Where can you get help? Nursing homes is the last place anybody wants to go. Most long-term care now happens in the home. So home health care is a really important thing. But the last statistics I saw were about 4 years for women and about 2 years for men. And that number kind of strikes funny because it would seem like everybody would go 4 years or would go 2 years. But I've watched it happen in my family and in other families that need this. If it's especially the husband that needs care first, the spouse is going to take care of the husband for as long as she can, and it's until she can't physically do that anymore. And sadly, what triggers that is usually she gets hurt. My sister-in-law got hurt trying to help my brother, who was in full-fledged Alzheimer's, out of a bathtub, I think, and hurt her back. And it was then that she decided it was time for him to go to a nursing home. So we should have gone to a nursing home probably several years earlier. So that's why men stay there shorter, is because they just get there in worse shape because spouses have taken care of him. Women, on the other hand, don't want to be a burden, especially if they've had to take care of somebody in their family. And so as soon as especially if their husbands have predeceased them, and statistically that will happen, women are much more apt to say, I want to go to a facility where I can be taken care of, where I'm not a burden to my family. Frankly, just so that you know, I want to be a burden to my family. Okay. I'm going to stay here as long as I can. But
yeah. So you said in the intro, what if, long-term care is expensive, but what if there was a way that you could put your money in and then take it out if you decided you changed your mind?
Yeah.
And it also maybe had a life insurance component to it.
Yeah.
And maybe it leverages the amount that you put in by 3 to 6 times.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. And the reason that came about, the reason that product was made is because the traditional way of doing it is you would just buy a policy and you would pay $400 or $500 a month on it, and you'd pay on it until you went on claim. So you could be paying on that thing for 20 years. And those things have become very, very expensive and very hard to qualify for, because while we know that about 70% of Americans are going to need long-term care, insurance companies know that 70% of Americans are going to need. So they're being really picky. They're looking for the 30% that are not going to need it. And so it's really hard to qualify for traditional long-term care, and it's very, very expensive. And so, there was this hybrid product that came out. The other kind of fallacy or the hardship with traditional long-term care insurance is that they reserve the right to increase the premiums. And so right now we're calling lots of people that have had their long-term care insurance for 5, 8, 10 years. And we're saying, hey, your premium is going up by 10% or 6%. And that can be tough for some people. So there's a product. It's a hybrid product. It's a hybrid life insurance, like you said, and long-term care. And there's only 3 outcomes that can happen to an individual. So they put an amount of money. Let's say $100,000. Put $100,000 in, and let's say that you change your mind. in a year or two or five. Usually it's 5 years. You got to wait 5 years. You change your mind. And I don't know that anybody would change their mind. We're talking about earlier how when people have long-term care insurance, they don't let it go because they can see they're going to need it more and more. But what might happen is a better product would come along, and so you want your money back. You can get all of your money back. You can design these things where after a period of time, you can get all your money back. So no, you're recovered for those 5 years. If you didn't need it, you just pull your money back and you're good to go and go do something else. So that's one. Second thing, the reason people didn't like the traditional way of doing long-term care insurance is, what if I did pay on this thing for 20 years and I'm paying $400 a month, $4,800 a year, 10 years, that's 48,000, 20 years, that's 96,000. And then I'm out jogging when I'm 84 and I get hit by a bus. And no long-term care needed, man. I go right to the funeral home. What happened to that $96,000? Well, it's lost. That's another reason people didn't want to do it by traditional long-term care. This one, if that happens, there's life insurance, and it's more life insurance than you put in. So if you put $100,000 in at 64-year-old female, $120,000 will go tax-free to your beneficiaries. So get your money back, get more money if you don't need it, and if you do need it, it becomes somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 of long-term care insurance. So it's a pretty solid product. Little easier to qualify than traditional long-term care because they're looking more for a life insurance thing. But it's a really neat way of doing it. And further, some people don't have $100,000 to put on one product, but you can now buy them over, let's say, a 5-year period and put $20,000 a year into them. And so just that makes them, they're trying to make it easier for those of us that don't have $100,000 to write and get the coverage.
Yeah, I guess. So that sounds amazing.
It is
all
amazing.
Honky-dory.
Yep.
Is there any reason that somebody maybe wouldn't do this?
Wouldn't do long-term care insurance?
Yeah.
Well, Americans are very optimistic. And when they hear, you mean 30% of Americans are never going to need long-term care? I'm one of those 30. I just know it. I have this relationship with God, and He told me I'm one of the 30%. So that's one. Two, affordability. Some people just simply can't afford it, and for those that are in that lower incomes, in the 30,000 or less, we have Medicaid that covers nursing home. That would be another reason we wouldn't do something if somebody just qualified for Medicaid. It would be unethical to do it. And some, we just haven't really thought about it. And when people start to think about it is when their parents or somebody that they know has to go into a facility or they need to make arrangements for home health care. That's when they start thinking about their own situation. So, so fortunately for a vast number of Americans, we haven't had an event happening close to our family where we see how devastating long-term care needs can be, because it's not only, we're talking about the financial part of it, which is a strain for a family that doesn't have it. But there's the emotional part. Somebody is sick. Something's happened to somebody that you love, and it's not going well.
Yeah.
So the emotional part of it, and if you're stressed out emotionally, and then you add another layer of now financially, you got to figure out how to do this. When you see that happen to someone, or when you go see your parents, especially go through something like this, that's when we get a call. Say, hey, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to me. What do I need to do? And so, so most people just have not had that incident happen.
So, let's say I need long-term care.
Right.
Where do I go? Who do I call?
Well, if you have long-term care insurance, the first thing you do is you call your insurance, and they'll have people that'll walk you through. But most people want to do long-term care in their homes. We want to stay at home for as long as we can And here's one where the insurance company agrees with you. You want to stay at home because it's your home. Well, your stuff is here. And because you're at home, friends, family are much more likely to visit you at home than anywhere else. And so because you want to stay home, you stay healthier longer. And the insurance company wants you to stay home for as long as you can. So they provide for home health care insurance. You got to make sure you buy that when you go in. But there may come a time, and we haven't even talked about Alzheimer's, but Alzheimer's is running rampant in older Americans, and we don't understand why that is. Maybe we're living just too long. We've always had it, and we were just dying early. Or maybe it's all the stuff we're putting in our food to make it look pretty and stuff. But so there may come a time when you want to stay home, but you can't. And it gets really dangerous for somebody at home that can open the door and just walk outside. And there's been a lot of people that have just kind of walked away. My sister got in a car and drove and stopped somewhere and realized she was lost. And had it not been for a good Samaritan, a woman who noticed something was wrong. My sister's parked at a convenience store and said, "Are you okay?" And she said, I don't know how to get home. This lady asked my sister for her address and said, "Follow me," and she took her home. Those kind of things get really scary. And so sometimes staying at home isn't an option. So you go in that kind of situation, go to a memory care facility where they're trying to take care of people that are mobile, but make sure they don't get outside. Sometimes we go to assisted living facilities where you still have a lot of independence. You have your own apartment, but you're in a bigger room where there's healthcare available in case something emergency happens. You have usually dining areas that are and living areas that you can go down and play cards or watch a movie with your friends and stuff. And then the last place that nobody wants to go to is a nursing home, but sometimes you just need 24-hour, and you need nursing people just standing by. And so that's kind of the home health care first, memory care if there's a problem with the memory, assisted living, and then a nursing home, and nobody wants to go there, but sometimes that's where we end up.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about long-term care and you want to talk to professionals, more specific professionals, us, we have a couple different ways that you can do that. The first way is via phone number, and that is 888-SWAN-DFW or 888-792-6339. Or we have an email address, and that is info@swandfw.net. It's free to call, free to email.
Yeah. And like you said at the beginning, like this, forward this to somebody. The more people that see this, the more people will realize they have more options than they think they have to get ready for an event that 70% of us are going to go through.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you all in the next one.
Thank you. God bless.
The preceding content is informational only and based on information available when created. It is not an offer or solicitation, nor is it tax or legal advice. It does not consider your financial circumstances and objectives and may not be suitable for you.